One. Hello, everyone. Back with you to a new chapter of this lecture series that we're putting together at Miami Art School. I'm Jose Guillermo Diaz, the co-founder, director of Miami Art School Punta Cana. Everybody knows me as JG. And I'm super excited to have as our guest today, Eric Hu, VP of Strategy at HAVAS Group, and Travis King, founder at the Community Builder. And also as a guest, someone we found out that is smarter than the three of us, Hayden. She's from Lafayette College, and she's studying neuroscience. Wow, huh? Which is a great proof that, you can get into this like majors and still need strategy. And again, like our presentation says, it's all about winning and rethinking new business pitch. And we are always pitching, always pitching. I tell our students that that's our life. Since the moment we wake up and I ask my wife, what do you want for breakfast? That's a pitching statement, because I might want something that she doesn't want. So, right, Eric? So Eric, Travis, like we say, the virtual floor is yours. So go ahead.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, JG. That was a fantastic introduction, and welcome, Miami Art School family. We are thrilled to be here. Again, you have myself, Eric, you got Travis, dear friend of mine, and Caitlin, and we're really excited to put forth a program. And it's all centered around pitching, as JG introduced, right? 5 weeks to win, rethinking the new business pitch. And when I say new business, I'm not just talking about pitching for an ad campaign. We're going to walk you through everything in the world of strategy, from communications planning, engagement, communications design principles, design strategy, product and service design, everything around the world of creating a better customer experience. You're going to learn it. We're going to help teach you, and hopefully you can take away some skills that you can start applying to your career today. So without a further delay, a little bit of historical context. So why did we come up with this course? I mean, everything about innovation has been hard fought. All the great technology in the palm of our hand today rests on the shoulder of giants, right? But it wasn't always easy to sell an innovation as it is easier to see innovation today. For example, in 1876, when Alexander Graham Bell introduced telephone technology, Western Union, then one of the greatest communications brands, told him, well, it has no commercial possibility. What use could we make of an electrical toy? Well, today, mobile and phone-based technology is a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? Henry Ford in the early 1900s created the first massive manufactured vehicle, and he was told by United States Congress that the car is a menace. The development of the car, this new power, may displace the use of horses. To which I say, how many of us use horses today? Right? Orville and Wilbur Wright, two of the most famed founding fathers of flight. They discovered flight in 1903, but it took almost half a decade for any journalist to write seriously about it. So the point is, why are we so bad at adopting innovation, right? And with us, we'll talk a little bit about our experience of selling in innovation, why innovation is important, the strategy behind proposing new ideas and winning pitches for radical transformation. But first, Travis, why don't we hear a little bit about your background? I think the audience is going to really appreciate everything about sales, business development, and your role in the strategic world.
Thanks so much for that, Eric, and thanks so much for having us, JG, and Miami Ad School. I'm super excited to be here with you all during this boot camp. And just a little bit about me. I started out my career at a marketing agency and got to really understand the ins and outs of, building challenger brands from the ground up. So working with a lot of different rising brands at the time. So like the Cholulas, the Juicy Juices, the Procter & Gamble's, the Johnson & Johnson's of the world, and really helping consumers kind of learn more about the products in market in different fields. And one of the things that I kind of picked up from that was being able to communicate across different channels with the right message, with the right focus on who need to hear that message. And after that, I went into education technology. So kind of pivoted from the marketing agency world, got a little bit of experience in the ed tech world, and dealt with K-12 in different school districts. So I really have a passion and background for education myself, and then ventured into the startup world a little bit deeper with Meetup and WeWork, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, and really got a hands-on experience for understanding how to build communities, launching them from scratch, figuring out different ways to go to market, figuring out what certain enterprise communities found valuable, which sort of things they didn't find valuable, and kind of how to really build a long-term strategy for building a community. And I'm really excited to share with you all how community building can play a key role in your go-to-market strategy. And I'm just super excited to be here, and I'll turn that back over to you, Eric.
Absolutely. And I think Travis brings a great perspective, having gone through the startup world and coming from agency, but really the bulk of your experience, and correct me if I'm wrong, is on the client side and the community building side. I think that's going to be crucial in our series of workshops across the strategy boot camp, right? 5 weeks to learn a really hard process in the agency continuum. But I think between my theoretical approach, strategic approach, mainly from the agency background, combined with Travis' insight and context from the client side, will really give you that proverbial sandwich of strategic know-how. Little bit of my background. So I've been able to work on product design, service design for brands like Adidas, sold in a new venture to Capital One, worked on commercials for Land Rover and Samsung, and built out digital product ecosystems. For me, strategy is all about not only selling in ideas, but understanding why those ideas should have existed from a customer-centric standpoint to begin with. And so that's the lens we'll be taking you through. But first, a few brand exercises to get you excited. So over the course of this 5-week summer strategy bootcamp with Miami Ad School, we'll be talking about a bunch of different themes, but 5 things to get you started today. I'm really thinking about what makes brands great and iconic and irreplaceable and beloved in the spaces that they exist in. One is verbing. It's controversial. Some people believe that verbing may not be a good thing, but for today, I'd like you to think of, what does it mean when a brand becomes synonymous with the action that it facilitates? Right? For example, we all know Netflix and chill. And I'm not suggesting that every brand of the world becomes synonymous for one-night stands, but it's pretty powerful to own that space. There's a lot of money towards it, right? Venmo me, Google it. These are all brands that have risen to ubiquity. So think about that. What happens if your favorite brand becomes a verb? Number 2, systems. If you look around your bathroom, your kitchen, chances are, to Travis' point and his experience in CPG or consumer packaged goods, Procter & Gamble and Unilever, between those 2 holding companies, probably own every single CPG product in your household. Pretty insane. But beyond that, beyond just creating a product ecosystem, we can look at brands like Nike and Walmart that have taken ecosystem thinking and applied it to the kinds of services they deliver. Think about middle America. Think about people who live in areas where their neighbor is 10 to 15 miles away. What does it mean that a retail destination becomes a community center that fulfills all of your daily needs? Walmart has things like a pharmacy, clinic, optometry, of course, your groceries, but it also has QSRs, right? Tiny restaurants within it. It's a rest stop. It's a place for you to exist and calm down and just take it in, and also save money and live better, right? I believe that's their slogan. These brands are excellent at catering to every need and anticipating your pain points and solving for them in real time. Number 3, Streamline. What does it mean for your favorite brand to take all of the complexities of your life and streamline it onto one platform? That's how you become irreplaceable. The way that Apple has created a whole digital ecosystem around, well, you want to listen to music? We have an app for that. We have a phone for you to act as a pocket computer that's 1,000 times stronger than the computer that sent us first to space. But then also creating things like our workstations, right? And software and hardware that can answer for all of our innovative needs as creative individuals. Redefine. This one is one of my personal favorites, right? This theme is really about brands that have completely transformed entire industries. It's pretty hard to do, but we look around and these three brands are still around with us today: Uber, IKEA, Airbnb, right? The idea of combining travel and the destination all at once, Airbnb's done it. Putting power back to consumer, making furniture, a traditionally expensive category, more affordable, and somewhat to our chagrin, a kind of complicated process, but also a fun one to do with your family. Putting together a chair, if you've ever done it, IKEA is a headache, a heartache, but it's always satisfying when you're done with it. Right, and Uber has transformed the car category from a products-first approach to cars as a service, last mile delivery. And lastly, consciousness. Right, this is so important. Today, we consider brands as an opportunity to pursue purpose over paycheck. But what does that really mean? Well, Axios takes that to a whole new level. Axios is all about slow journalism, talking about the topics, the hot button issues, controversial topics that are top of mind, the elephant in the room, so to say, and writing about it in a way that's very honest, very slow and methodical, and talking about the issues that nobody is talking about right now, but should be, right? Allbirds creating shoes out of fully sustainable materials, REI donating all of their tax breaks back to communities that need it most. These are brands that actually prescribe purpose back to paycheck. So what are the things that we're going to be taking you through in this workshop besides just brand themes? Well, it's all about research, right? As a strategist, we get really, really good at identifying the kinds of inputs we need to find out more about our consumer, our competitive category, culture at large, and of course, the company that we're trying to pitch. And that leads us to point number 2, which is identifying opportunities for you to be an innovative leader of tomorrow. Right? What are the strategic frameworks that are going to help you build the brief, but then also create the next big idea? And that's number 3, right? Ideate. We're going to walk through the steps of what it takes to be a good strategist, both the fly on the wall and the guiding light for your creative team to come up with groundbreaking ideas that are going to win you either an award or 10x sales. And throughout this course, we'll be talking about not just building products, which is pretty cool, packaging design, building products from the ground up, but also the services. In a category where everything looks the same, like CPG or automotive, how do you break through the sea of sameness? Well, it's probably by service design. So we'll be talking about things like UX, UI, creative technology, experience design, and brand ecosystems. And within those brand ecosystems, that brings us to the next point, which is what is going to be the most effective and impactful content that you can create as a brand steward that's going to drive people's loyalty to you forever? And when I think of content, I'm not just talking about the New York Times editorial content. I'm talking about, the way that Away, very famed luggage company, has created a coffee table book even before they launched their luggage. What does it mean to turn a traditional product-based brand into a publisher lookalike? And throughout this course, we'll also talk about different kinds of strategy. So I'm sure you guys are wondering, well, how do I be a strategist too? There are so many different avenues. Caitlin is a great example. Coming from neuroscience, I think that sets you up. If you're smart enough like Caitlin to study neuroscience, that is, it's a great avenue into strategy. But for us, we all come from different backgrounds. I've had almost a decade of violin performance experience. You might argue that that's irrelevant. Travis comes from a very different background as well. So it's all about how do we mold your thinking into broad stroke categories of what strategy looks like. So not only brand strategy, which is identifying the purpose of a brand in a consumer's life, but also experience strategy. So what does it look like to build experiences around the brand ecosystem so that consumers can access brands better and find more value out of the experience? And then of course, communications, which is the information hierarchy, sort of distilling the experience down into deliverables and consumption, and figuring out what are the behaviors that we can answer for in the brand journey. The thesis of all of this is that the best ads finds its fans outside of the industry. We're not creating ads for ourselves, we're creating ads for a consumer. We have to provide value of some sort, right? And so the idea is that good work is memorable, but great branding is unforgettable. And hopefully in those 5 weeks, combined with the office hours, Travis and I can help answer that for you. And we can't wait to see you. So please reach out to us, sign up for the bootcamp, and we'll see you soon.
Great. Thank you very much, Eric, Travis. this is great. You know, this is one of those boot camps that I'm planning to take myself, because it's really you know, I love the way you divided the experience, you know, and the process, which, you know, looks very linear, but it's very modular at the same time. You know, you can you know, play around with it. And I love the part where you talk about your experience and Travis' experience, or even Caitlin's experience, you know, coming into the world of strategy. How important is bringing that to the conversation? Because, you know, our students come from everywhere and from, you know, every work. You know, they come to Miami Ad School to look for that place where they can like grow in that area that they have always enjoyed, which is communication and creativity and ideation. So, and sometimes we get people saying like, well, you know, I'm not a strategist. I didn't go to school to be a strategist. And here we have an example with Caitlin that is going through neuroscience, and oh my God, you know, how wonderful it is for an agency to have someone like her, you know, working on a new pitch, right, Eric?
Yeah.
So it's great. You know, we heard like the background from Eric, but what about you, Travis? You know, you talked to us about what you do now, but where do you come from?
Yeah. So I'd say like for me, my background has always been, I mean, I've been an athlete, so it comes from that like sports mindset. I was a high school champion or state champion in triple jump. So a lot of the way that I think is typically in like 3 phases, right? So I'm not sure how many people in your class are familiar with the event, but the triple jump is the hop, the step, and the jump. And so I always break down things in that, you know, 3-step process. It's kind of a thing once you kind of get into strategy. Eric can also relate to this, and you pretty much have a framework or a model for anything. And so being a triple jumper, I take that kind of like frame of thinking to a lot. And then also I was a football player. So being able to take that defensive mentality, don't let anybody score on me sort of thinking to, oh, like I have to protect my own, and I have to make sure that I'm, you know, standing up and making sure that, you know, my players are good, my teammates are good, we're all going to war for each other. And it also does a different thing when you're used to bonding with people so closely over 4, 5, 6 months, 6 a.m., 5 a.m. And it does something different than just a regular friendship, right? And so one of the things that I guess I picked up from those experiences is that there's a power in repeat interactions with small circles of people. And so once you kind of step back and think about it, you're like, oh, do I spend more than 2 hours a week with anybody in general? And then I'm like, oh, no, I did this my whole life. Like every single day from the time I was like 12 or 13, I literally was spending hours a day with the same sorts of people throughout the year. And it kind of teaches you, you know, how to communicate with others. You've got all different types of personalities, right? And so from the sports world now going into the like professional world, I've always applied those same sets of thinking. Like I'm not competing with anybody else. I'm only competing with the person inside myself of who I used to be. I'm not worried about being first necessarily, but I want to make sure that everybody's winning and growing at the same time. And it's kind of a different perspective when it comes to business, because a lot of times many people find is when you get into corporate companies, they're in the, hey, I want to be number one mentality. Whereas if you kind of take the, hey, how do we make everybody better mentality, you kind of find that you'll build more leaders up along the way versus putting the people down who might not know what they don't know in that process. So I definitely have like a more of a, I guess, communal and just like curiosity approach to like, okay, how do we all use this moment and this time together as an opportunity to understand everybody at a deeper level from a human perspective, but then B, how do we go beneath the surface level of what we haven't talked about or what we're trying to avoid? And I find a lot of happiness in helping people have those difficult conversations. So yeah,
great.
I don't know if that helps share, JG.
No, it helps a lot. You know, I help to get to know you and know what moves you, and that's great. You know, and I never heard that way of bringing sports to the professional life. You know, we sometimes hear, well, you know, maybe because my connection with other people, I've heard that, you know, the military mentality, you know, the Marines, you know, being great at P&G, you know, the mentality, you know, like transferred to that business world, but I never heard about like professional sports, you know, and especially the triple jump, you know, because we hear like baseball, you know, Dominicans in baseball, basketball, soccer, but triple jump, it was great. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. I also want to go back to one thing that you mentioned, Eric, at the beginning, which I thought is very important. You know, the workshop is set up as 5 weeks to win, rethinking the new business pitch. But you mentioned like we shouldn't think about new business pitch as the business pitch that we go to get a new client. But there's a business pitch inside the agency all the time, and with current clients as well. So it's not about like going and get. So we're going to talk about that as well, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, there are 3 pieces of new business that I'm constantly doing here at HAVAS, right? So the first layer is the easiest layer to understand, which is going after new clients. The single most effective way of getting new clients is to identify what's happening in the category, what's happening in the competitive landscape, and what are the white spaces, what are the opportunities that brand needs to fulfill in order for it to be more effective at doing 3 things, right? So becoming beloved in the spaces it occupies, becoming irreplaceable or invaluable, right? And then also making sure that you're cutting through the sea of sameness, right? And becoming iconic. That's something we talk about in brand planning all the time. That's number 1. That's the first part of new business, which is, I would say 60% of it is really figuring out how do you get the agency more revenue by going after new and fresh and exciting clients. It's also how you get your creative team more excited by having that healthy pipeline. I think the next 20% of new business for me is thinking about what are the ways we can grow our existing business, right? And these are all the same principles as if you were to go after a new company, which is, well, what are we doing right now? What are the things we need to be doing? And how do we build a bridge across the 2, right? And then the last 20% of new business is exciting, but nobody really talks about it, which is, you know, how do you build new capabilities inside of an agency, especially a big agency like HAVAS, where we have, you know, our tendrils spread all over media and culture and content production. So we own Canal Plus, we own, as part of the Vivendi network, we have HVH Analytical, we have things like Universal Music Group and Game Lofts, right? So we can touch pretty much everything from celebrities, A-list artists, gaming and mobile gaming, and then also developing communication strategies and all of that good fun stuff. But, you know, what are the white spaces? Again, what are the gaps in between all of the capabilities we have under one roof and create a more cohesive experience for our clients and our brands, the same way that we would hope that those brands create those cohesive experiences for their consumers, right? So that's really the breakdown between the 3 layers of new business. And I will say the one surprising thing that a lot of people miss when they step into a strategic role is not only going after new business as what is the opportunity for the brand, but what is the opportunity for the client itself. Chances are, if there's an RFP, which is a request for a pitch, and they're kind of interviewing different agencies to go after a piece of business, right? Chances are the client is either new to the brand or the client is sick of the old agency's way of working, which gives you a whole level of understanding of, okay, wait. It's not just about doing right by the brand now. It's how do I help this individual that is a marketing leader in the industry and the brand itself? How do I make them look good? How do I make them feel good and reassured that we're pioneering into the future of brand? So those are just some thought starters. But yes, new business is a great way of teeing up why strategy exists, how strategy can help, and I guess some of the tools and tips and tricks that can get our students started thinking strategically.
Perfect.
Yeah, I was just going to add one more thing real quick, JG.
Sure.
When it also comes to new business, like one of the things that from the tech side of things that a lot of people forget about, and this is applicable to any industry, but context is huge. And so like to Eric's point about going in and understanding what does the market look like for the brand? What is the competitive landscape like? Where are we giving you value that you're not getting from anywhere else? And that's one of the pieces about, even to Eric's last point about being irreplaceable. Like if you become that strategic advisor or that informational or habitual resource that's always dropping value, whether it be in the form of an email, whether it be in the form of a short pitch you put together, a deck, a video, whatever it is, if every time you show up on the screen or have an engagement with that person, you're showing them something new, insightful, and valuable, that is like the blueprint for long-term success in any new business pitch, because you're now getting something that they can't Google. You're getting something that they're not getting from any of their other vendors. And now you're positioning yourself as somebody that even if they don't decide to work with you, you'll at least be friends. So that way, when time does come to renegotiate agencies of record or to figure out who your new vendor is on this particular software or service, that you guys are top of mind in that conversation. And so that's just a little like level to add from a contextual standpoint.
No, great. I love it. It's like, you know, I tell my students, and, you know, when I had the agency before, that the perfect client is the client that calls you to check what kind of car they should buy, or, you know, like, my son is going to college. Where should I send him? You know, when they start seeing you as that person who has the answers, that's the client that, you know, that they think of you beyond the how much it is. You know, it takes away the, oh, you're charging me X amount. No, you have a value in their life, and that's perfect. So before I forget, I want to hear from Kaden. I want to put you on the spot, okay? Because I want to hear you. Why from what do you see in this world? You know, what do you see on what Travis and Eric have been talking, coming from neuroscience? You know, what are you bringing to when you graduate to an agency? Or tell me about that.
So when I initially went to school, I wanted to major in psychology because I just knew I had an interest in like understanding human behavior, why people act the way that they do. But throughout the intro psych course, I kind of realized like, okay, I just want like a deeper understanding. So I went into neuro because it combined that with sort of like the biology and the brain stuff. So I really didn't know what I wanted to do for a long time. I just knew I was interested in like understanding why people behave the way that they do, or why people think the way that they do. So just the more that I like looked into things, I actually connected with Eric a few months ago, and he talked to me just about like kind of his role with strategy and like these insights and being able to separate yourself with those insights with truly understanding your clients. It kind of just like all clicked for me. Like that's really the direction that I want to go in. Yeah. So using that neuroscience and like that deep understanding to then like bring that over into the strategy world and understanding marketing and advertising and sales all kind of through that scope. I thought it was just an interesting way to go about it.
Oh, great. Oh, man. And touching yourself to Travis and Eric, it's very smart on your side. I know that before going to the recording, or we were talking about how students right now are looking for or creating their own internship programs and reaching out to individuals like Travis and Eric and saying, hey, I want to learn from you. You know, I cannot go to your agency, spend all this time there, but I can do this virtually. So congratulations, really, Caitlin. You know, you have, you know, I know you're going to go far. So thank you guys. Again, anything else to add? Nothing? Good. We're very excited here. super excited. The word works in weird ways. And I met Eric through Natalie on We Are Next, remember? And we connected, and you connected with Miami Ad School, and then you bring Travis, and then Caitlin, and here we are putting together an amazing boot camp for our students. So I really thank you very much for all this, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to have a lot of like students learning from you guys. So again, thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you for your hospitality. We're just as excited. We can't wait to have some fun.
Yes,
yeah, likewise. Just to echo, come ready to be curious, come ready to learn, come ready to grow. That's what we're all here about, right? So just come ready. I'm excited to get this started.
I love it. Thank you very much, guys.
All right.